Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. And the topic which I'm going to discuss about is going to blow away your mind because we are going to talk about fats. And fats are basically they have been termed as villain in the fitness industry, that you should not eat fat, you will get fat, all this blah blah. So the thing is that I'm going to clear out all the doubts. Although the video is going to be really long, but you just hear each and every word, you will get all the information, and you will not get confused next time. So today's topic is the healthy approach to dietary fasts and understanding the science and taking action to reduce people's confusion. See, my job is to reduce the confusion which is prevailing in the industry, and at the same time to give you evidence-based scientific facts which eradicates all the misconception prevailing in the industry, so that you can have a good and healthy lifestyle and a decent lifestyle, and so that your money is not being wasted, and especially on supplements. So the thing is that introduction. See, what is fat basically? People are basically confused about research findings, and most people say different things, that one should have this kind of fat, and you should go for this keto diet. You can have this fat, even if you can have saturated fat, it's going to lose fat. You are going to lose fat. So how to follow up and how to cope up with all this situation? However, evidence from observational studies and randomized trials which has been done all over the world has especially we have seen that if you eat saturated fats, basically it's harmful for the health because it stimulates the LDL receptors in the liver, and which also causes fatty liver. At the same time, it causes a little bit of rise in blood lipids, and it also raises the LDL cholesterol in the body, which has been accepted by science as risk for cardiovascular disease. And what the research has seen that if you have PUFA and MUFA, or polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fatty acids excluding fat, then most of the cardiovascular benefits it's in, and shifting your fat intake from those saturated fat to more of polyunsaturated fatty acids and monounsaturated fatty acids, you will get more of health benefits. But what is fat actually? So fat is actually a default fuel. Fat is already present in the body to use as fuel, and it also serves as thermoregulated process because it also keeps the body warm. And the technical name of fat is basically triacylglycerol, which is abundant in the body. For example, an average athlete, a lean athlete, which has got 50% of body fat in him, and he has got 10 kilo of fat in his body, it means 90,000 calories, because 1 gram of fat equal to 9 calories, so 10,000 grams means 10 calories, 10 kilo fat calories in his body. So thing is that if you convert into calories, that will become 90,000 calories. So this is enough to complete a multiple series of marathon. And moreover, in that athlete, if he has 50% body fat, the other at least 300 grams of fat will be in his intramuscular lipid droplets, in the form of intramuscular lipid droplets, which are also called intramuscular fat. And that is sufficient enough to fuel a complex variety of exercises and complex variety of activities which is going to fuel the exercise. But how much fat? However, fat is much more fuel, and it's quite complex, and fat exists with variation depending on the fatty acids. Fatty acid means a major component of the fat which is basically used as energy source. And so the thing is that, but before we come to the next point, we need to also understand that the types of fats which is basically found, which are bad fats or which are good fats. And see, basically there are no such as thing as bad fats or good fats. All fats are necessary, but the ratio has to be proper. The ratio has to be proper. So the types of fats are basically fat can be categorized into two major parts. One is the saturated fat, and the other is the unsaturated fat. Saturated fats are basically it refers to the capric and the stearic acid, which is basically found in red meats, all those fatty items, cheese, butter, and all those lard and processed meats, and which is basically been termed by nutritionists or doctors they increase the risk of raising LDL levels in the body because it stimulates the LDL receptor size in the liver. So saturated fats are basically being avoided. And the other fats, which are basically called the unsaturated fats, they are basically divided into three parts. And the number one is the polyunsaturated fatty acids, or also called the PUFA, and the chemical name is N-9 oleic acid, which are basically found in olive oil. canola oil, tree nuts such as almonds, walnuts, peanuts, and another kind of fat which is basically called the trans fat, the N-ellagic acid. Although it falls into the PUFA, but this fat is basically we have to avoid, because this fat are basically found in fried stuff, like all those fried foods and junk food. So you have to avoid this kind of fat. That is the trans N-ellagic acid, which is a kind of fatty acids, PUFA. It contains it is a kind of PUFA, but the thing is that it has to be avoided because it's a trans fat. And the number 2 is the monounsaturated fatty acids, or the MUFA, also called MUFA, and this chemical name is N-nic linoleic acids, or also called the omega-6. You might have seen in supplement bottles. And this omega-6 is basically found in vegetables oil, snack foods, cottonseed oil, safflower oil, and so on. And N3 linoleic acid, or the omega-3, which is quite popular in the form of supplements and in everywhere, and in internet and everywhere. Most of the people know about omega-3 because it is the first fat which has been known to human, and that is good for the heart. And they are basically found in example like walnuts. You will get in flax products like flax seeds, canola oil, and some soybean oil. And the third kind of fat is really unique, and that is the fish fatty acids. Fish fatty acids is completely different, because although they fall into the category of monounsaturated fatty acids, but the thing is that they contains a specific chemical which is called the N3 eicosapentaenoic acid. Hope I am correcting pronouncing it right, or the EPA, and the N3 docosahexaenoic acid, or the DHA. So which are also sometimes called highly saturated fatty acids, or the HUFA. I am pretty sure that nobody has heard the name the HUFA, and they are mainly found in seafood such as salmon, sardines, herring, and fish oil supplements. So you need to have fish oil supplements. Fish oil supplements are really very healthy. So now I'm going to discuss why the confusion arises, because a lot of various big organizations are giving different kind of recommendation, and before that we'll come to conclusion also, and I'll give you the right kind of information what kind of fat you need to take. See, current dietary fat recommendation for adults, who suggests WHO suggests, the World Health Organization suggests that fats and fatty acids in human nutrition, it should contain at least 20 to 35% of fat calories from overall calorie intake. So it doesn't matter the amount of fat you are taking, it matters the ratio of fat which you are taking. They have suggested that out of the 20 to 35% of overall calorie intake, fat calorie intake, you should take less than 10% of saturated fat. Less than 1% means trans fat has to be avoided, and 2.5 to 9% of N6 PUFA has to be taken, and 0.5 to 2% should be N3 PUFA. And Food and Nutrition Board, or the IOM, Institute of Medicine, they suggest that 20 to 35%, same just like WHO, saturated fats has to be limited according to them, trans fat limited, or it has to be cut down from the diet. 5 to 10%, a little bit 1% more of N6 PUFA, and 0.6 to 1.2% of N3 PUFA has to be taken in the diet. So this is quite similar. And another organization, American Heart Association and American College of Cardiology, they suggest that they have no specific recommendation for overall calorie intake of saturated or unsaturated fat, overall calorie intake of fats, but they have suggested that 5 to 6% of fat should come from saturated fats, and one should limit the intake of trans fat. Means trans fat has to be avoided. So all these three organizations have suggested in a different manner, but a lot of trials have been done, and in one of the major most popular trial which has been done earlier, that is an experiment called the PREDIMED trial, or the Prevention con Dieta Mediterranea, which is basically based on Mediterranean diet, where a number of people, 7,447 persons were being fed with Mediterranean diet, and that diet consists mainly typically from fat sources, and they have taken 35 to 40% of overall calorie intake from fat sources only. And most of the fats in Mediterranean diet comes from plant and vegetable sources of MUFA, monounsaturated fatty acid. And the Mediterranean diet commonly emphasizes consumption of fruits, vegetables, legumes, fish, nuts, and olive oil. In prevention, or the PREDIMED diet, they have found out that extra virgin olive oil 50 gram a day, and a Mediterranean diet supplemented with mixed nuts, 30 grams of walnuts, 15 grams of walnuts, and 30 grams of almonds, 75 grams of almonds, 75 grams of hazelnuts. So different kinds of nuts ratio. See, you'll not believe me, they have given almost 30 grams of nuts per day, 15 grams of walnuts, 7.5 grams of almonds, 7.5 grams of hazelnuts. So total of 30 grams of nuts have been given to the participants to eat every day. And those who believe that nuts causes weight gain, you can find out that nuts hardly causes any kind of weight gain until and unless you are in a calorie deficit diet. So after that, after a follow-up of 4.8 years, the research was done for almost 4.8 years. It's a long research, and after the consumption of Mediterranean diet, it has been found out that 30% reduction in myocardial infarction or heart attack has been reduced, stroke or that. So 30% of cardiovascular disease has been reduced. Just imagine. So it's come to the point that after 4.8 years of Perimed trial with Mediterranean diet, people are getting risk free from 30% risk has been reduced from the cardiovascular risk factors. And dietary approach to stop hypertension, that's another approach where is also beneficial for cardiovascular health, because cardiovascular health is always related to the blood pressure. That's why. So the original DASH diet was emphasized on vegetables, fruits, whole grains, low-fat dairy products, poultry, fish, nuts, and while limiting sweets and red meats. And this was generally this kind of diet has generally definitely has lowered the blood pressure to quite a good level, 5.5 and 3.0 mmHg compared to the control diet. Yeah, so DASH diet is also quite good, and consumption of the DASH diet also resulted in total lowering of LDL cholesterol, because LDL cholesterol is not good for the heart, and it has also increased the HDL level. So this is a DASH diet. And another research was done as the follow-up to the DASH diet, and the next level was that the optimal macronutrient trial to prevent heart disease, or also called the OmniHeart. So as a follow-up to the DASH trial, the second the follow-up version of DASH trial was the optimal nutrient intake trial, or also called the to prevent heart disease, also called the OmniHeart, was conducted to compare high carbohydrate, high protein or high MUFA version of original DASH diet. But participants with pre-hypertension stage 1 were fat for 6 weeks in a period of in a 3-week period, and they have found out that their blood pressure were reduced and improved, and the cardiovascular risk factors are also reduced. So these are all different kinds of approaches, clinic research which has been done. And finally, the third one which I'm going to discuss about is the COMET trial, also called the canola oil multi-center interventional trial, where canola oil including high DHA was used, and N-DES MUFA, N-DES 6 PUFA, and N-DES 3 PUFA, which are also the varying levels of different kinds of fatty acids on biomarkers of heart disease. So in that trial, canola oil was basically used with N-DES 9 and N3 rich PUFA. So high MUFA and PUFA content oil was used along with canola oil, and it has been found out that canola DHA blend. Remember, next time you buy oil, you buy the canola DHA blend. So canola DHA blend has the greatest systolic and diastolic blood pressure lowering effects. Means people suffering from blood pressure and heart disease should go for canola DHA combined composition of oil. So next time you buy canola DHA oil, which is very good for lowering the blood pressure. And all treatments lower the Framingham 10-year coronary heart disease risk score. There's a risk score basically, Framingham 10-year coronary heart disease risk score. So it has shown improved results in that risk score criteria. So thing is that what we can see is that only reducing saturated fat is not going to lower the heart disease. You might have heard that people who are suffering from blood pressure, they should limit their salt intake. But at the same time, the suggestion is my suggestion from my side is that you need to have a different kind of oils which are rich in MUFA and PUFA, and which contains all those polyunsaturated fatty acids and monounsaturated fatty acids which I have already mentioned. And you should limit the intake of saturated fat by 10%. So in short, what I would like to tell you is that if you're having a 2000 calorie based diet, so you need to have 20 to 35% of 25 to 35% of calories from fat only, and out of that you should not take more than 10% of saturated fat, or it's on the lower side. And trans fat or the man-made fat or the processed fat has to be totally avoided, which are basically found in processed food, for all those kind of food, noodles and all those kind of junk food you have to avoid totally. And if you follow this, it definitely, yes, you can have a very healthy heart, and your lipid profile will be okay. And remember, nuts, all kind of nuts, which contains basically remember again, I'm telling you again that you should avoid all those saturated fats found in red meats, cheese, butter, all this kind of saturated fat you have to avoid. And you have to have high fatty acid contents, which contains PUFA, and basically N96 oleic acid, which are found in olive oil, canola oil, all those tree nuts, peanuts, olive oil, then almonds, walnuts, flax seeds. You can have all this kind of stuff, all this kind of fatty acids, and at the same time, if you can have seafood, which specifically contains EPA and DHA, which is more beneficial for your heart. So combining fish fatty acids, high PUFA content and high MUFA content, and if you tell me to buy which kind of oil, I will suggest you to buy olive oil and canola oil, which contains a combination of DHA. So in short, that's all for today. I hope I'm able to make you understand, and I'll be coming up with more videos on this topic. And till now, thank you. Have a good day.